As the evening sky slowly bled into orange, the city pulsed with the familiar rhythm of closing time. People rushed home, cars blared their horns, and shop shutters rattled down one by one. In the middle of this bustling crowd, Lena walked alone, a quiet figure in her worn-out office uniform. She clutched a small lunchbox, her dinner saved from earlier, a small comfort at the end of a long day. Lena looked exhausted. Each step seemed to take a little more of her energy, but her eyes held a softness, a gentle warmth that defied her tired posture. She reached the bus stop and stood waiting, the cold wind picking up and whipping around her. She hugged her thin bag closer to her chest for a bit of warmth, her expression calm and patient. At the street corner, a homeless woman shivered under a torn, flimsy blanket. Most people hurried past, their gazes fixed forward, oblivious or indifferent. But Lena wasn't most people. She noticed everything. Her heart clenched as she saw the woman desperately rubbing her hands together, a futile attempt to fight the biting cold. Slowly, almost hesitantly, Lena walked towards her. She knelt down, her face level with the woman's, and offered a soft, gentle smile. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice quiet but full of genuine concern. The woman just shook her head weakly, her eyes tired and lost in a haze of despair. Without a second thought, Lena opened her lunchbox. She placed it gently into the woman's hands, a simple offering of food and comfort. The woman stared at the meal, her eyes wide with surprise. No one had shown her any kindness all day. "Please eat," Lena urged softly. "It's not much, but it will help." Then, she did something more. She unwrapped her own shawl, her only real protection from the cold, and carefully draped it around the woman's shoulders. The woman's voice was a hoarse whisper as she looked up. "Thank you, you are very kind." Lena just smiled shyly. "Take care. I hope tomorrow is better for you." She stood up, preparing to leave. The air felt colder without her shawl, but a different kind of warmth bloomed in her heart. She felt good. Across the road, a sleek black luxury car had stopped, its engine humming silently. Inside sat Mr. Radin, the young millionaire owner of the very company where Lena worked. He'd been on his way to inspect a nearby property when something outside his tinted window caught his attention. He saw Lena, his employee, kneeling beside a homeless person, giving away her food. Radin leaned forward, intrigued. "Is that my employee?" He watched intently, trying to place her face. He was sure he'd seen her in the office corridors. His driver noticed his boss's sudden focus. "Sir, is something wrong?" Radin simply raised a hand. "Wait, let me see this." His eyes remained fixed on Lena. He wasn't accustomed to witnessing such genuine, unprompted kindness. When Lena wrapped her own shawl around the woman, Radin's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Why would she do that? He whispered to himself. A strange, unfamiliar warmth stirred deep within him. He lowered the car window just an inch, straining to hear her. All he caught was her soft voice, carrying on the wind. "Stay warm, okay?" A small, sharp pang hit his heart. He couldn't explain the feeling. He watched as Lena walked away, hugging her thin arms against the cold. His driver glanced at him again. "Sir, should we leave?" Radin shook his head slowly, his eyes still following her. "Follow her." The driver blinked in surprise but obeyed without question. "Yes, sir." The car moved silently, keeping a discreet distance so as not to be seen. Radin watched her through the dark glass. She walked slowly, stopping once to let out a small, quiet cough. Radin's brows furrowed. He didn't like seeing her so cold, so vulnerable, especially after her act of generosity. Lena crossed a small bridge and headed toward a crowded, noisy bus station. It was a chaotic scene of dust, noise, and people rushing in every direction. Yet, Lena remained a point of calm in the chaos, patient and serene, holding her bag close. Radin watched her blend into the crowd, yet somehow, her gentle nature made her stand out more than anyone else. "Who are you really?" he whispered to the empty car. Lena pulled out her phone to check the time. The bus was late, as usual. Her stomach rumbled, and a sad little smile touched her lips. She had given away her only meal for the night, but she didn't regret it, not for a single second. Through the throng of people, Radin saw her expression and felt that strange pull in his chest again. He'd seen people donate money for publicity, for tax breaks, for praise. But this was different. She gave from the heart, with no audience in mind. Her charity was pure. The bus finally arrived, its doors hissing open. People pushed and shoved to get on board. Lena stepped back, allowing an old man to climb in ahead of her. She held her bag tightly, trying not to get crushed in the surge. Radin noticed this small act of consideration, too. "She is different," he murmured. Lena managed to find a small, empty seat at the very back. She sat down carefully, her tired eyes gazing out the window, completely unaware that someone was still watching her every move. Radin instructed his driver, "Follow the bus, but keep your distance." The driver nodded. "Understood, sir." Inside the bus, Lena leaned her weary head against the cool glass. Her thoughts drifted to her mother at home, who was waiting for her medicine. She thought about her stack of bills, her daily struggles, and the simple, quiet dreams she held onto. Despite the hardships of her life, Her heart remained gentle and full of light. Raiden couldn't hear her thoughts, but somehow, he could feel their weight. He felt her quiet strength. The bus reached her stop, and Lena got off, walking toward a small, modest apartment building before disappearing down a narrow alley. Something inside Raiden wouldn't let him just drive away. He opened the car door and stepped out, the cold wind hitting him full force. He ignored it, staring at the direction Lena had gone. His driver got out too. "Sir, should we go home?" Raiden didn't answer right away. His mind was racing. Finally, he spoke, his voice firm. "I want to know more about her." The driver looked a bit confused. "About your employee, sir?" Raiden nodded slowly. "Yes, her. And her kindness." He got back into the car, lost in thought. As the driver closed the door, Raiden whispered to himself again. "There is something special about her." The car began to move. But Raiden was no longer paying attention to the city streets. He was replaying the scene in his mind, Lena helping the homeless woman, her smiles so soft, pure, and real. He wasn't used to these kinds of emotions, but for once, he didn't try to push them away. As the car wound through the quiet, affluent neighborhoods, one question echoed in his mind. Why would someone with so little still give so much? It was a question that stayed with him, refusing to leave. Finally, the car pulled up to the gates of his grand mansion. The guard opened them, bowing respectfully. But Raiden barely noticed. His mind was still with Lena. He walked inside, past the expensive furniture, the glittering chandeliers, and the polished marble floors. But tonight, none of it impressed him. Something else, something far more valuable, had captured his heart. He sat alone, in his vast, empty living room, the silence amplifying his thoughts. He whispered into the stillness, "Who are you, Lena? Why do you affect me like this?" He felt a mix of emotions he hadn't experienced in years. Admiration, curiosity, and a profound, comforting warmth. He looked out the large window at the cold night sky. And in that quiet moment, he made a decision. Tomorrow, he would find out who this kind, gentle girl truly was. And he would understand why she, of all people, had made his cold, guarded heart. The morning sun cast long shadows across Raiden's mansion, but he had been awake for hours, lost in thought. On his sprawling desk, a single file held his complete attention: Lena's employee profile. He traced the words with his eyes, absorbing every detail. Hardworking, quiet, never late, always willing to help her colleagues. But it was the final note, tucked away at the bottom, that truly caught him. Lives with her sick mother. Raiden leaned back in his leather chair, a strange weight settling in his chest. He whispered to the empty room, "She helps everyone when she has so little herself." Downstairs, the driver glanced at his watch. Today felt different. The boss had seemed troubled last night, a rare crack in his composed exterior. Miles away, in a small, humble apartment, Lena was just waking up. She moved like a whisper, careful not to disturb her ailing mother. She prepared a simple breakfast of tea and bread, but her mother gently pushed it away. "Did you eat last night?" her mother asked, her voice frail but filled with concern. Lena forced a soft smile. "Yes, Mama, I ate at work." It was a small lie, a shield to protect her mother from worry. In truth, she'd given her portion to a coworker who had forgotten their lunch. Lena rushed to catch the bus, her uniform not perfectly ironed, but her mind was elsewhere. Arriving at the massive office building, she greeted the security guard with the same warm smile she gave everyone. The office was a symphony of ringing phones, clacking keyboards, and rustling papers. Lena navigated the chaos and settled at her small desk, immediately diving into her work. She was completely unaware that from the floor above, her boss had been watching her arrival. Raiden had stepped out of his office, feigning an interest in something on the ground floor, but his gaze went straight to Lena. She sat with perfect posture, her focus absolute, a small, quiet island in the bustling sea of the office. Raiden felt his heartbeat quicken, an involuntary response he couldn't control. He turned away abruptly, his composure momentarily shaken, hoping no one had noticed his lapse. Back in the sanctuary of his office, he picked up the phone and dialed the HR manager. "Tell me about someone named Lena," he said, his voice calm and even, betraying none of the turmoil inside him. He listened intently as the manager recounted her file, her work ethic, her quiet dedication. After the call, Raiden stood by the window, staring out at the city, his mind anything but calm. Something was shifting within him, a fundamental change he couldn't yet name. Meanwhile, Lena typed furiously, hoping to finish her reports early so she could get back to her mother. From a corner of the office, two coworkers watched her, their voices low. "Did you see? The boss keeps looking at her." One whispered maybe she's in trouble, the other speculated. Lena felt their eyes on her but kept her head down, her focus unwavering. She was used to being invisible, and this sudden attention was unsettling. Back in his office, Raiden made a decision. It was bold, impulsive, but it felt right. He pressed the intercom button, his voice echoing through the general office. "Ask Lena to come to my office." The announcement hung in the air. At her desk, Lena froze. Her hands began to tremble. She had never been to the boss's office. What did I do wrong? She whispered to herself, her mind racing through every possible mistake. With a deep breath, she stood up and made the long, nerve-wracking walk to the elevator. Each step felt heavy, her heart pounding against her ribs. She finally reached the imposing wooden door and knocked softly, her knuckles barely making a sound. "Come in," a calm voice replied from within. Lena entered, keeping her eyes fixed on the floor, her posture radiating anxiety. Raiden observed her for a moment, taking in her shy demeanor. That same warm feeling stirred in his chest, but he expertly concealed it. "Relax," he said gently. "I simply need your help with something." Lena nodded quickly, still terrified that this was a precursor to being fired. Raiden handed her a file. "I need you to accompany me to a meeting out of the city." Lena blinked, her mind struggling to process his words. "Me? But sir, I'm just a junior worker." A rare, small smile touched Raiden's lips. "That is precisely why I want you." Lena was speechless, her heart a whirlwind of confusion and surprise. She could only manage a slow nod. "Okay, sir." A few hours later, they were in the back of his luxury car, speeding out of the city. Lena sat stiffly, her gaze locked on her own hands, too nervous to even look out the window. Raiden sat beside her, pretending to be engrossed in his tablet, but he was secretly watching her from the corner of his eye. The city skyline gave way too long, winding roads flanked by tall trees. He noticed her shivering slightly, not from the cold, but from sheer nervousness. Lowering his voice, he said, "You don't need to be scared." Lena managed a tiny, forced smile. "I'm not scared, sir, just surprised." Suddenly, the car's engine sputtered and died. The driver pulled over to the side of the deserted road. "Sir, the engine overheated. This might take some time to fix," he announced grimly. Raiden got out to assess the situation, and Lena followed, looking around the quiet, unfamiliar surroundings. Not far from the car, two small children sat by the roadside, sharing their meager space with a stray dog. Their faces were smudged with dirt, and their eyes held a deep, hollow hunger. Lena watched them for a heartbeat, her own problems momentarily forgotten. Without a second thought, she opened her small bag, took out the single chocolate bar she'd saved for her afternoon snack, and walked over to the children. She handed it to them with a gentle smile. Their faces lit up, a pure, unadulterated joy that was breathtaking to witness. One of them wrapped their small arms around her leg in a brief, heartfelt hug. "Thank you, Miss Raiden. Saw it all." He watched as this quiet, unassuming girl gave away the little she had without a moment's hesitation. The tightness in his chest returned, stronger this time. She was the embodiment of kindness. Lena walked back to the car, a faint blush on her cheeks, suddenly shy under his gaze. Raiden looked at her, his eyes soft with an emotion he couldn't hide, but he said nothing. Soon, the driver had the car running again, and they continued their journey. The silence in the car was different. Now it was no longer tense, but comfortable, filled with a new, unspoken understanding. As Lena quietly cleaned her hands with a tissue, Raiden finally spoke. "You like helping people, don't you?" Lena looked down, flustered. I try." Sir Raiden nodded slowly. "It is a beautiful thing." Lena felt her cheeks grow warm. No one had ever said something like that to her before. They finally arrived at the branch office in the next city. Employees greeted Raiden with practiced respect, and Lena trailed behind him, trying to remain invisible. Throughout the long meeting, she took notes with incredible speed and precision, her focus absolute. Raiden found himself admiring her professionalism, her quiet competence. He overheard a senior manager whisper to a colleague, "Who is she?" "His new assistant." Lena pretended she didn't hear, her pen never pausing. On the way back, a light rain began to fall, the drops tapping a soft rhythmic beat against the car windows. The world outside blurred into a watercolor of greens and grays. Raiden looked over at Lena again, who was now gazing out the window, a thoughtful expression on her face. He felt that same warm pull, that inexplicable connection. It was growing stronger, taking root inside him, evolving into something he was only just beginning to understand. He didn't know where this road would lead, but he knew one thing with absolute certainty: his life was about to change. All because of the quiet girl sitting beside him. The evening wind touched Alina's hair as she walked home, still thinking about Leon's strange behavior. Something about him felt different today, soft, quiet, almost worried. She reached her small apartment door but didn't enter. She stood still for a moment, holding her bag, replaying Leon's words from earlier. Why did he look at me like that? She whispered to herself. His eyes had held something she couldn't name. Inside her room, she sat on her bed, trying to calm her restless thoughts, but the more she tried, the more her mind returned to Leon. For the first time, she wondered if her billionaire boss had seen more than she expected that night with the homeless woman. She lay back, her eyes fixed on the ceiling. She didn't know that Leon, miles away, was thinking about her at that very same moment. Leon stood near the tall glass window of his penthouse. The city below sparkled like a sea of diamonds. But his mind wasn't on money tonight. He couldn't forget the way Alina had helped the old homeless woman, gentle, caring, giving everything she had. I have to tell her, Leon whispered to himself, but even he didn't fully understand what he wanted to tell her. He turned away from the window and walked to his table where a small gift box waited. Inside, it was something that could change both of their lives. He opened the box and looked at the silver necklace inside. He hadn't planned to give it today, but after watching Alina earlier, he knew the moment was close. Leon sat down and rubbed his forehead. How do I even start? He murmured. He was confident in business, but when it came to her, he felt lost. Back in her apartment, Alina tried to distract herself by cooking dinner, but she kept cutting the vegetables unevenly because her hands were shaking. She finally put down the knife and sighed. Why am I acting like this? She asked herself. She had worked for Leon for years, but she never felt nervous like she had today. Alina sat at her small dining table and slowly ate her food. Each bite felt heavy. Her heart felt heavier. While eating, she checked her phone. There was a message from her friend Sana, asking how her day was. Alina typed back, strange. Boss acting weird. Maybe he found out something. Sana replied instantly, maybe he likes you. Alina dropped her spoon. No way. She whispered to herself, shaking her head. Leon? No, impossible. But the idea stayed in her mind. It made her heart beat faster. Across the city, Leon picked up his phone and opened Alina's contact. He stared at her name for a long time. He typed a message. Can we meet tomorrow morning? I need to talk to you. He read the message, deleted it, typed again, and deleted it again. This repeated 5 times. Finally, he locked the phone and put it aside. No, I should talk face to face. Morning arrived. Alina woke up before her alarm. She had barely slept. Her eyes felt heavy, but her heart was restless. She dressed in her usual simple clothes, but today, she checked herself in the mirror twice. She didn't know why. When she arrived at the office, everything felt sharper. The building looked bigger. The hallways seemed longer. Even her footsteps sounded louder as she walked toward Leon's floor. Meanwhile, Leon was pacing inside his office. His assistant kept watching him with confusion. Sir, is everything okay? The assistant finally asked. Leon stopped walking. Yes, no, I don't know, he replied honestly. The assistant had never seen him this way. Billionaire Leon was always calm, always controlled. Alina reached his office door and stopped. She placed her hand on her chest, trying to steady her heartbeat. She knocked softly. Inside, Leon froze. She's here, he whispered to himself. He took a deep breath. Come in. Alina entered the room slowly. The air felt thick, heavy with unspoken words. Leon looked at her and forgot how to breathe for a moment. She looked tired, but beautiful in a soft, real way. Good morning, sir, Alina said quietly. Leon motioned for her to sit. She sat down, her hands tightly closed together. He sat across from her. Silence filled the space. Alina, he began, but the words stuck in his throat. She waited patiently, eyes full of worry. Sir, did I do something wrong? His eyes widened. No, not at all, he said quickly. Her shoulders relaxed a little. Leon leaned forward. I saw something. The other night. Alina blinked. What do you mean? He looked down at his hands. I saw you helping that homeless woman. Alina's eyes widened. She had never told anyone. He gave her food. You gave her your jacket. You stayed with her for hours. Even when it was cold. He continued softly. Alina looked down. I didn't know anyone was watching. Leon nodded. I know. That's what surprised me. You weren't doing it for attention. She felt tears rising. She needed help. Anyone would have done it. Leon shook his head. No, Alina, not everyone. A deep silence settled again. He stood up and walked to his desk. He picked up the small gift box. Her heart jumped when she saw it. Leon returned and placed the box gently in front of her. Sir, what is this? She asked. Open it, he said softly. Alina hesitated, then slowly opened the box. Her breath caught when she saw the silver necklace shining inside. I can't accept this, she whispered instantly. Leon smiled gently. You haven't even heard the reason. She looked up, confused and nervous. Leon took a deep breath. Alina, that night, I didn't just see kindness. I saw who you really are. A pure person with a beautiful heart. Her cheeks turned warm. Sir, I have everything money can buy. Leon continued softly. But I have never met someone like you. Her fingers shook slightly. Leon looked into her eyes. I want to help you. I want to support you. I want to do something meaningful for you. Alina breathed slowly, trying to process it. But why me? She finally asked. Leon's answer came without hesitation. Because you deserve it. Her heartbeat echoed in her ears. Leon sat down again. Closer this time. I have a proposal for you. Alina froze. The word proposal hit her heart like a storm. Not that kind of proposal, Leon added quickly when he saw her panic. Her face turned red from embarrassment. Leon smiled softly. I want to offer you something that could change your life. Alina swallowed nervously. What? What do you mean? Leon stood up again, his hands behind his back. You work hard, you support your family, and you help strangers. But you never take care of yourself. Alina looked down. It was true. That's why I want to give you something, he said quietly. Her breathing grew uneven. Sir, what is it? Leon paused for a long moment. Alina, I want to sponsor your dreams. She blinked, confused. My dreams. Yes, Leon said gently, whatever you want. A home, a business, studies, anything. I want to support it. Alina couldn't speak. Tears filled her eyes. No strings attached, she whispered. No strings, Leon said softly, just respect and trust. Her tears fell silently. Leon stepped closer, slow and careful. You helped someone without expecting anything. Let me help you the same way. Alina covered her mouth with her hand. Her whole body trembled. She looked up at him with wet eyes. Why are you doing this? Sir Leon's voice lowered. Because the night I watched you, something inside me changed. And with those words, the future began to shift for both of them. The next morning, Alina woke with a mixture of fear and excitement. Her mind kept replaying Leon's words from yesterday. She sat on her bed, staring at the ceiling, her heart racing uncontrollably. She tried to think logically. He's my boss. This is not normal. But her heart refused to listen. She got ready slowly, taking extra care with her hair and clothes, something she rarely did. Downstairs, her mother was already awake, preparing breakfast. Good morning, Mama, Alina said softly. Her mother smiled and handed her a cup of tea. You seem different today, Beta. Did something happen? Alina shook her head quickly. Nothing, Mama, just sleepy. She left for work with a quiet nervousness that followed her every step. At the office, the atmosphere was normal, but Alina felt a tension she couldn't explain. Workers whispered among themselves. Did you see the boss yesterday? Alina ignored them and went straight to her desk. In his office, Leon watched her arrive. His chest tightened, seeing her carry the weight of her small life yet remain so graceful. He smiled faintly, shaking his head. She's remarkable, he whispered to himself. Alina opened her laptop and tried to begin her work, but her thoughts kept drifting to him. She remembered how calm he looked, yet how deep his eyes felt. Meanwhile, Leon sent his assistant a note. Schedule a meeting with Alina at noon. Nothing formal. The assistant nodded, curious but silent. When Alina received the call, she gulped nervously. What could he possibly want this time? At noon, she walked to his office slowly, her palms sweating. Leon looked up as she entered. Sit, he said softly. Alina obeyed, biting her lip, trying to appear calm. Leon handed her a file. I want you to review this project. I think you'll do well. She glanced at it. The project was about helping low-income families get food and shelter. Her eyes brightened. I would love to, sir. Leon nodded slowly, watching her expression closely. Your heart matters more than your skill, he said softly. Alina felt a warmth spread through her chest. She had never been praised like this before. He continued. I want you to lead this project, Alina. I trust you. She stared at him, surprised and honored. Sir, I don't know what to say, she whispered. Say you'll do your best, he replied with a soft smile. Alina nodded, her expression full of determination. I will. Leon felt a surge of admiration. Good. I knew you were special. Her cheeks flushed slightly, but she focused on the work ahead. Over the next few days, Alina worked tirelessly on the project. She visited families, distributed food, and coordinated with volunteers. Leon observed her quietly, impressed by her boundless energy and commitment. He realized that her kindness wasn't just for strangers. She cared deeply about everyone she touched. Every evening, he reviewed her progress reports, noting her dedication. Alina, meanwhile, noticed something strange. Leon started attending some of the charity visits, standing quietly in the background. He never spoke much but would silently help with small tasks, like carrying boxes or comforting a crying child. At first, she was startled. Why is he here? She wondered, but she soon realized he genuinely wanted to see the impact of her efforts firsthand. During one visit, a small child ran to Alina and hugged her leg tightly. Alina laughed softly, lifting the child into her arms and spinning her around. Leon watched silently from a distance, feeling his heart stir in a way he'd never experienced. He had never felt emotions like these. He realized he was falling for her not just for her beauty, but for her heart. After the visits, they would return to the office, both quiet and thoughtful. Alina was tired but visibly happy, her eyes sparkling with fulfillment. Leon watched her quietly from his desk, noticing the new softness in her posture, the gentle curve of her smile as she worked. He whispered to himself, how can someone be so beautiful and so kind at the same time? One evening, after everyone else had left, Leon called Alina into his office. Sit, he said softly. She obeyed, her heart pounding in her chest. I want to show you something, he said, taking out a folder. It was filled with pictures from the charity work. Alina looked through the photos, smiling at the familiar faces of the families she had helped. These people, they've changed because of you, Leon said softly, her eyes filled with tears. I didn't do it alone, sir, I know, he replied gently, but you are the heart of it all. From that day on, their bond deepened. Leon trusted Alina with more decisions, both for the project and within the company. Alina felt proud, but also a little nervous. She didn't want to fail him more herself. During lunch breaks, Leon would occasionally ask her simple questions about her family, her dreams, and her past. At first, Alina hesitated, but slowly, she began to open up. She told him about her sick mother, her daily struggles, and her small, fragile hopes for the future. Leon listened silently, never judging, only offering a quiet, steady understanding. Her words touched him deeply. He had never met someone so honest and strong. "Alina," he said one day, his voice quiet but firm, "you inspire me every day." She smiled faintly, her cheeks growing warm. "Sir." He held her gaze for a long moment, and the room felt still, filled with unspoken words. Alina felt her heartbeat quicken. She couldn't explain why. Leon stood up slowly. "There's something I want to give you." He handed her a small envelope. Alina opened it carefully. Inside was a letter and a voucher for her mother as complete medical treatment at the best hospital in the city. Tears immediately fell from her eyes. "Sir, I can't accept this." Leon smiled softly. "You can, and you will." She nodded silently, overwhelmed by gratitude and a whirlwind of emotions. They sat in silence for a few moments, connected by an unspoken understanding. The office clock ticked slowly. Outside, the sun began to set, bathing the room in a warm, golden light. Leon finally broke the silence. "Alina, I admire more than just your work. I admire your heart." Alina's hands trembled slightly. She looked down, unable to meet his intense gaze. I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Don't say anything yet," Leon said gently. "Just keep being yourself." Alina nodded, a faint smile breaking through her nervousness. Days passed, and their bond continued to grow stronger. Leon and Alina worked late, shared quiet laughs, and built a foundation of care and mutual respect. She began to trust him, slowly letting him into her world, and he began to see her not just as an employee, but as someone who was becoming indispensable to his life. Every small gesture, her smile, her gentle laugh, her unwavering concern for others made him fall deeper. One evening, after distributing the last of the food parcels to families, Leon and Alina sat under a large tree outside the community center. The sky was painted in breathtaking shades of pink and orange. Alina leaned back against the trunk, tired but happy. Leon watched her quietly for a moment. "You make the world a better place," he said softly. Her eyes met his, glowing with a sincere warmth. "We're only doing what we can, sir." Leon smiled, feeling his heart connect with hers in a way he had never felt before. The emotional bond between them had deepened, setting the stage for something far more powerful in life. The morning sun poured through the office windows, casting a soft, golden glow across the room. Alina sat quietly at her desk, sipping her tea, her mind drifting back over the past few weeks. It felt like her life had undergone a quiet yet profound transformation. A faint smile touched her lips as she thought about Leon and the incredible support he had shown both her and her mother. But a question lingered in her heart. Would their connection ever evolve beyond the professional boundaries of their workplace? Just then, Leon entered the office. He carried his usual calm, focused demeanor, but his eyes immediately found Alina across the room. For a fleeting moment, the usual morning bustle seemed to fade into the background, leaving just the two of them in a silent, shared gaze. He walked towards her desk, a gentle smile gracing his features. "Good morning, Alina," he said, his voice warm. "Good morning, sir," she replied, her heart suddenly racing. Leon handed her a folder. "I want you to review a special project today." Alina's curiosity was piqued. She opened it and saw a list of underprivileged families who were in desperate need of urgent assistance. A spark of passion lit up her eyes. This was the kind of work she lived for. I can handle this, sir," she said, her voice filled with determination. Leon simply nodded. "I trust you completely." The hours that followed were a whirlwind of activity. Alina worked tirelessly, her energy seemingly limitless. She coordinated volunteers, arranged for essential supplies, and personally visited the families, offering them not just aid but also a listening ear and a comforting presence. Leon accompanied her on these visits, a silent partner in her mission. He didn't seek attention. He just quietly helped, lifting boxers, playing with children, and observing. He noticed the small things, the gentle way she spoke to a shy child, the genuine encouragement she gave to a struggling family, the unwavering patience she maintained, even when she was clearly exhausted. He saw a purity and kindness in her heart that stirred something within him he'd never felt before. During a short break, they found a quiet spot under a tree outside a small community center. Alina leaned back against the trunk, wiping a bead of sweat from her forehead. Leon watched her for a moment, his expression soft. "You've done more today than most people could do in a month," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Alina looked up, surprised by the comment. I just did what needed to be done." Leon smiled. "That's what makes you extraordinary." Her cheeks flushed with a delicate pink, and she looked down, a little embarrassed by the praise. He continued, his gaze steady. Alina, I've realized something over these past few weeks. Her heart skipped a beat, waiting for his next words. I've realized, he said, his voice thoughtful, that my life has been missing someone like you. She froze, her mind racing to understand his meaning. I've watched your kindness, your courage, your dedication. Leon went on. Every single thing you do makes the world a little better, and it makes me a better person. Alina's hands trembled slightly in her lap as she looked at him, her eyes wide with a mix of shock and hope. Leon took a deep breath, gathering his courage. I don't want to just admire you from a distance anymore. He paused, his gaze locking with hers. I want to be with you, Alina, he said softly, his voice steady but filled with a profound emotion. Tears welled in her eyes. Sir, Leon gently reached out and took her hand. Call me Leon, please. Alina nodded, her lips trembling too much to form a word. I want to share my life with you, Leon continued. Not just as your boss, but as someone who cares for you more deeply than I can say. She swallowed hard, a flood of emotions overwhelming her. Leon, I don't know what to say, she whispered, her voice choked. Just say you'll trust me, he said gently, and let me care for you the way you've cared for everyone else. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. She had never imagined a love so honest, so selfless. A small, beautiful smile broke through her tears as she nodded slowly. I trust you. Leon's own smile widened, and he squeezed her hand gently. This is the start of something new, Alina, he said quietly, and it was over the next few days. Their bond deepened and grew stronger. They continued to work side by side on the charity projects, but now their hearts were intertwined in ways neither of them had ever expected. Leon started inviting Alina to quiet dinners and small personal outings. Each moment was filled with easy laughter and a quiet, profound understanding that needed no words. Alina, who had once been so timid and reserved, found herself opening her heart, trusting Leon with a completeness that felt both new and entirely natural. One evening, Leon arranged a surprise at the office. When Alina walked in, she was stunned. The room was softly lit with dozens of candles, and photos of the families they had helped were displayed beautifully on the walls, a testament to their shared work. Leon stood in the middle of it all, holding out a small box. Alina, this is for you. Her heart raced as she opened it. Inside lay a delicate silver pendant, and engraved on it were the words, kindness changes everything. Tears filled her eyes. Leon, it's beautiful. He stepped closer, taking her hands in his. Not as beautiful as you, Alina. Her cheeks flushed and she looked down, a soft smile playing on her lips. Alina, Leon whispered, lifting her chin gently so their eyes met. I want to take our journey further. I want to share everything with you. Your dreams, your struggles, your joys, and I want you to share my life too. Her heart felt like it would swell right out of her chest with happiness. I never thought love could feel like this, she whispered. Leon smiled. I promise to support you, care for you, and always stand by your side, he said with unwavering sincerity. Alina nodded, the tears now falling freely, tears of pure joy. You've changed my life, Leon, she said softly. And you've changed mine, he replied. From that day forward, their lives intertwined completely. Alina continued her charity work, but now with Leon's full and unwavering support. And Leon, once so focused on business and profit, discovered the immense value of kindness, compassion, and love. Together, they visited families, supported entire communities, and inspired countless others to lend a helping hand. The change was palpable, even in the office, which now felt warmer, happier. One evening, Leon took Alina to the rooftop of his skyscraper building. The city lights twinkled below them like a sea of stars. He took her hands and looked into her eyes. Alina, will you be mine? Fully, completely. She looked at him, tears of joy streaming down her face. Yes, Leon, I will. They embraced under the soft night sky, a perfect culmination of everything they had been through: the silent admiration, the shared purpose, the blossoming love. Leon whispered in her ear, you've made my life meaningful. Alina rested her head on his shoulder, feeling perfectly at home. And you've made mine beautiful. The millionaire and the kind-hearted woman became inseparable partners. Their love built on a foundation of deep respect, mutual admiration, and a shared purpose to make the world better. Word of their story spread quietly, and people came to admire them, not for their wealth or status, but for the genuine humanity and kindness they shared with everyone they met. Years later, they would often look back at that simple moment when Leon first saw her helping a stranger on the street. It seemed so small at the time, yet it was the catalyst that changed both of their lives forever. They would smile at each other, hands intertwined, knowing their journey was far from over. Alina whispered, I never imagined my life could be this beautiful. Leon held her hand tightly. And it's just the beginning. Together, they walked into the future, two hearts bound by love, kindness, and the promise to change the world, one life at a time. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more uplifting content. We'll see you in the next video.